Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Well, we are back, but with a slightly different episode this week. And from now on, as Michael and I have been talking about, we want to cover privacy tools and all these things to be kind of sovereign and exit the matrix. And that's the way we'll be taking a lot of our premium research and that as well. So, Michael, I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got for us today. And we're still obviously going to be covering crypto, and we're hoping that crypto pendulum swings back to privacy and all that stuff that initially set out to do, right? But yeah, how's things?
Good. I was just saying in the pre-show, like it's hard to not like get a little freaked out sometimes if you realize just all the craziness is happening in the world. But I think it's all about like grounding yourself and realizing that if you're prepared, you don't need to be scared. But far out, there's some wild stuff happening.
Yeah, and exactly. And as you become more sovereign and exit the system, this stuff affects you
Mhm.
less and less. So it all ties in together with what we're trying to do and help educate people on, right?
Sure does. But I'll dive right in because we've got a bit to cover, and so I want to sort of rip through this as quickly as possible. But just to touch on pricing again, we've been flat over the week. So I think we're just in the depths of the bear market. Like things will start to just chop a little bit. We might get a little pump and then we might get a little pullback, but I'm not expecting any real fireworks in the next short term. We talked last week about the Clarity Act a lot and about how that's probably going to be a bit of a catalyst if that passes. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a pretty big bump there. Um, but just a bit of sideways chop is the main story at the moment. I think one thing which is I've been tracking, which I think is kind of interesting as well, is just general assets. So I have seen a market shift at the moment in the crypto community and all of the blockchain groups that I'm in and all the different crypto groups that I'm in. A lot of people have sort of broadened their horizons a little bit to other assets outside of just like altcoins. And so more and more people starting to pay attention to stocks and commodities. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually the beginning of the merging of the two worlds. We've talked about how the finance world is coming on chain, but I think chain is sort of going to go and mesh with the finance world as well. So, there's a bunch of big IPOs coming this year as well, which I think a lot of people pay attention to.
Yeah, and whenever you see everyone jump ship, like all these, altcoin YouTube channels with all the hype tiles and stuff, the time to be like accumulating gold and silver, all that was over the past few years. You don't want to chase something that's
Yep.
gone parabolic, and maybe now we've had a decent pullback on, say, silver. Not a bad time to get back in, but yeah, it's just a sign that they're late to the party and they're going where the hot narrative is, and normally that means it's kind of too late, or you have to acknowledge that you're not early. So keep all that stuff in mind.
One of the ones that I did think that was interesting this week is that you've been banging this drum for a while. Is that the Lightning Network had $1 billion in volume, which I thought was really interesting to show that this is not something that's dead. There's still people paying attention to this and still using Bitcoin to move around quite freely, and so something that I'm just paying attention to as well.
Yeah, there was another company that allowed for pretty large channels. I can't recall the name of it now, but yeah, it looks like they're after not really having any new tech or anything for. Oh, Lightning's been around for what 7 or 8 years now. Again, getting a bit of renewed interest, hopefully.
Yeah, I think the main thing here as well is that like it just goes to show that there is a whole lot of users who are still paying attention to this type of tech. And I think one of the ones that like I wanted to sort of expand on is some of how we can use blockchain tools to actually grow that freedom level a little bit. So I guess this one's a non-blockchain one. It's one that people have known about for quite some time, but it's all Proton mail. It just means that you're not going to get your emails phished. It's probably more of a privacy email layer. And so one that's been around forever and a day, people are probably quite familiar with. But there's actually quite a lot of these freedom tools where blockchain has merged with them. So one of the ones which I've been exploring at the moment is NIM. So my understanding is that the NIM chain is actually a Cosmos SDK chain, from my understanding. I could be correct there. But this is a decentralized VPN. So this is not you relying on a particular VPN from a particular region. This is like a VPN that is decentralized, uses the blockchain. And if you actually have a look at some of their other like models that they do have, is that they actually also have payments as well, which is really interesting. So you've got the VPN itself, but you can actually have a wallet where you're using Monero and Zcash, I think, as well, which they can flick payments around between.
Yeah, and that's again something we want to focus more on is which of these privacy tools aren't owned or have backdoors to intelligence agencies or certain countries that you're not allowed to talk about these days.
100%. So moving on, I found this tool this week. I thought that this was quite interesting. So this was something that was put out by Paradigm in conjunction with OpenAI, but EVM Bench, where you can actually use AI to audit smart contracts and also audit agents to see if there's any vulnerabilities in them. And so I actually played around with this with a few different code bases, and you can drop it in there and it will tell you if there's any sort of exploit or critical risks in there. So if you're going to engage with an agent or you're going to do something, smart contract based, and you wanted to check whether or not it had some sort of malicious backdoor in it, or if there's some sort of exploit, you can sort of drop it in here and it will flag it. And it does work. I did try it with some baseline tech, which I thought was quite interesting.
Nice. I wonder how long until the bots are checking the bots for backdoors and then lying to us that there aren't backdoors and all this type of stuff. It's crazy to think about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this one is probably the ship's a little bit sailed here, but this was another really interesting tool that this is sellpressure.xyz. And so what you can actually do here is you can go and you can start a simulation, and you can actually pop in all of the token metrics from a particular altcoin, and you can go through the steps, and it will actually simulate what the sell pressure of that token might still be. So you don't actually have to sort of be relying on what sort of sell pressure is still coming in this particular token. You can actually simulate what's likely to happen to the price. So just another really interesting tool that you can use to probably just check on, are you going to get dumped on by a bunch of existing holders?
Nice, yeah.
I've played around with this as well. Dropped a lot of low cap projects in here, and you can see which ones have still got big unlocks coming.
Yeah.
One last one, which I thought, again, was really interesting. We know the world of mixers kind of got clamped down on over the last year or two, but Houdini Swap is kind of like a Uniswap sort of platform, but you can actually use like sort of privacy pools on it. And so you can kind of do a swap, and it will mix your trade onto your trading. So again, just another really interesting one. How Houdini Pay, Houdini Rewards, like you can kind of use the bridge as well, where you can kind of mask a lot of your transactions, because it's kind of crazy that we live in a world where I send you $10 worth of ETH, and then all of a sudden you can see my full financial history, including all of my savings. Now, I don't care if you know it, but if it's some random person that we're trying to interact with on the internet, and now all of a sudden they know your full financial history, you become now a target. And so this is going to be something that becomes the standard.
Yeah, and I mean, we went through an era where everyone had their .eth name as their like Twitter handle, and now Elon and X and AIs, they can just basically go back and connect the dots on everything. So privacy tools becoming more important, as we always talk about.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that we want to be sort of focusing on right now is what sort of privacy tools can we actually utilize to sort of keep our freedom. And, we've got a bunch of stuff that we're playing around with at the moment. And I think if the more that you can use these tools to your advantage and they don't get used against you, is probably the way forward. So we'll keep finding new things, testing them out, and bringing them to light and sharing them with members.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. And guys, you can always head over for the free newsletter, all our premium research and our high net worth services, which have been super popular lately as well, and jumping on those live calls every month where I can talk freely about everything that's going on in the world. So thanks for everything, mate, and we'll chat to you again next week. Cheers.